Couldn't think of an unhinged intro, I'm sorry. Normally I start with a weird intro because it's very awkward to just start talking to the camera. So that was kind of a cop. Today's video is going to have a lot in it. It's going to talk about some heavy subjects. We are going to talk about toxic people, manipulative people, textbook medical diagnosis of narcissists, and a whole lot of spell work with tips and tricks and spells and rituals for you to do on your own. There's going to be a lot. Now I feel bad that I didn't do a weird intro, so here's me dancing. Let's talk about your ex. Okay, there we have some nice light-hearted good vibes for the start of this kind of heavy subject. Now, the first thing that I want to say to you is chances are if you found this video, you went through a terrible ordeal with a person or maybe a group of people. And I just want you to know that whatever happened is not your fault. You did not deserve anything that happened to you. You are a loving and good and kind person that was taken advantage of. And I am so sorry that you went through something that made you had to click on this video. Hopefully with both the mundane and magic, I can maybe help put you in a better place or a better track or a better resource to heal. Magic can't erase what happened to you. I just don't want you coming into this with any expectations because that's not how magic and energy and spells work. But along with the mundane, it can potentially help us be in a better spot. There's going to be a lot in this video, which I'm probably going to say repeatedly. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible by just spitting out bullet points to you guys. These aren't to get them to come back to you. Those are not these types of spells because, again, you can't rewire someone's brain. But an actual textbook narcissist is a mental health issue. It's just how their brain is wired, and we can't rewire that. I just don't want you to come in here with any hopes or beliefs or thinking that this is a spell to like return a lover or anything else like that. That's not what's in here. There are things to help you move on, things to expose them, some types of revenges in a way, or if you're not trying to give them any more of your energy, there are other spells and tips and tricks for that as well. So I try to cover from one end of the spectrum where you're like, I just want to move on. I just want to be able to get past this. I'm feeling a lot of feelings, to all the way over here where you're kind of like, I'm making sure that there are no more future victims from you. So there is going to be a spectrum of things, but with all that said and done, let's begin. So let's get into first things first for clarification. Sometimes narcissist has become kind of a buzzword for a toxic or a manipulative person. While a textbook narcissist is manipulative and they are toxic, not every toxic and manipulative person is a narcissist. So I just want to clear the air on that real quick. But either way, you're still going to get a variety of spells and tips and tricks and rituals to help you navigate through all this along with the mundane as well. So let's start with the textbook definition of a narcissist, because these will also help you narrow down what spells would also work for you. Please note, I am not a mental health professional. I am not a behavioralist specialist or anything else like that. I'm just an average person and a witch. These terms and definitions I'm pulling up come from both medical and psychological websites. And we should try to refrain, if possible, from armchair diagnosing. But I do want to point out that there is a difference between all of these. Narcissist personality disorder is a mental health condition. It affects on how you view yourself and how you relate to others. You do have to be diagnosed by a medical professional to be labeled as a narcissist in the medical term and full true definition of it. Some of like the symptoms and how severe they are can vary. So people with the disorder can have an unreasonably high sense of self-importance, and they require constant, excessive admiration. They also feel like they deserve privileges and special treatment. They expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements. They also make achievements and their talents seem bigger and better and greater than what they are, and they'll be preoccupied with fantasies about success and power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. They believe, like they truly believe, that they are superior to others and can only spend time with or be understood by equally as successful people. They will be critical of and like look down on people who they feel are not as important. They expect special favors and expect people to do what they want you to do without questioning them. They will take advantage of others to get what they want, have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs and the feelings of others. There are some, I think they're medically labeled as vulnerable narcissists, where they may feel like some shame and remorse for what they do, but it's very short-lived. They will be envious of others, and they will also believe that others envy them. They will behave in an arrogant way. They'll brag a lot, you know what I mean? And come across as conceited. And they insist on having the best of everything, like the best car or like the best office space, or their thing is better than yours because of like X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? I'm not just pulling these out of thin air. This isn't my opinion on what a narcissist is. This is the medical definition of what a narcissist is. At the same time, people with narcissistic personality disorder have trouble handling anything that they view as criticism. They can become impatient or angry when they don't receive special recognition or treatment. They have major problems interacting with others and easily feel slighted. They can react with like pure rage or contempt and try and belittle other people to make themselves appear superior. Sorry, I don't mean to be so animated while I'm talking. They'll also have difficulty like managing their emotions and their behavior. Now, for a manipulative person, they can have the same traits as a narcissist. However, keep in mind that to be labeled as a textbook narcissist, you do have to have a medical diagnosis. The key traits are for a manipulative person is that they might let the other person maybe speak first. That way they could kind of get like a better handle on like what your weaknesses are, to kind of get like a read on you, and then they might ask questions in order to assess that weakness. Sometimes people who display signs of like being manipulative aren't doing it intentionally. They may simply just have bad habit. I feel like you guys are so far away because it's getting darker. Let me just move the camera a little bit closer. That's a little bit better. Let's prop up Sass, Mr. Bigfoot, so he could sit comfortably. Hope he's having a good day. But other traits of a manipulative person may be that they may try to overwhelm you with like procedures and like red tape. Like they want to create roadblocks in order to maintain their position and their power over you. It could also be used to delay like fact finding and like truth seeking, hide their flaws and their weaknesses, and evade scrutiny. My accent makes me sound like sometimes I'm saying words different. Evade scrutiny. They could also like raise their voice and display a lot of like loud negative emotion. You'll submit to their coercion and give them what they want. They could also do something which is termed in the definition of it as a negative surprise, where they won't be able to come through and like deliver in some sort of way, because the unexpected like surprise comes without warning, so you have little time to prepare and like counteract their move, also giving you little or no time to decide in hopes that it will crack you, so you'll give in to the aggressor's demands. Also, which is fairly common, the negative humor to poke at your weaknesses and disempower you. So some manipulators like to make like critical remarks, often disguised as humor or sarcasm, to make you seem less inferior and kind of make you feel less secure. By making you look bad and getting you to feel bad, the aggressor hopes to impose psychological superiority or feel psychologically superior to you. You know, that, oh, it's just a joke, calm down, you're too sensitive, blase blase, like those kind of assholes. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They'll consistently judge you and criticize you, and this time it's just outright picking on you. There's no humor disguised. They will just make remarks about you. The aggressor deliberately fosters the impression that there is always something wrong with you, when don't worry, there is not. There is nothing wrong with you. But they'll try and make you think that, and no matter how hard you try, you are inadequate and will never be good enough. They'll also give the silent treatment, deliberately not responding to your texts, your calls, your messages, even if you're in the same room with them. They try and gain power by making you wait, and they want to intend to place doubt and uncertainty, like in your mind. The silent treatment is a head game where silence is used as a form of leverage. They'll also guilt bait. They'll target your emotional weaknesses and vulnerability. That way they can coerce you into unreasonable requests and demands. And lastly, for a manipulative person, victimhood. Exaggerated or imagined personal issues. Exaggerated or imagined health issues. Dependency, codependency, deliberate frailty to elicit sympathy and favor, playing weak, powerless, or a martyr. The purpose of manipulative victimhood is often to exploit your goodwill, a guilty conscience, a sense of duty and obligation, or your protective and nurturing instincts that you may have, in order to extract unreasonable benefits and concessions. Now, as for a toxic person, there's someone who just basically has a negative impact on all that's around them. They may be manipulative, they may be selfish, they may lack empathy. Their behavior can range from like subtle to overt, but the end result is always the same. You feel worse about yourself after spending time with them. No matter what type of person they are, again, it's the reason, sure, but it is not an excuse. You are valid in feeling whatever it is that you may be feeling at being at the hands of one of these types of people. There is a reason why they are listed as a cause of PTSD. Abuse doesn't have to be physical. I'm just really hoping that with some of these terms, one with it being a mental condition, with just how their brain is wired, that you cannot change them. You cannot fix them. No matter what they try and get you to believe, all your relationship is with them is source and supply. If any of you need to hear this, and I know it's really hard to hear and it's gotta suck to hear, even Magick cannot rewire their brain. And I'm gonna try and leave as many mundane resources as I can below to find people to talk to for support groups. Some of you are in violent situations, which I really hope not. You should be calling the police instead of watching a witchcraft video, but I'm gonna leave them down below because it's always mundane before magic. Magical advice is not medical advice. I say it like almost in every single video, and I don't want to be bursting any of your bubbles, but you have to do the mundane first, okay? I love you. You're doing great so far, but make sure you do the mundane first. I also wanted to give these terms because if someone is medically diagnosed as a narcissist, you know, we talked about how their brain is wired in a certain way, which, complete side note, I still want to do that video on psychology, science, and witchcraft with those breakthroughs. That video might be coming soon. Okay, and parentheses. But again, because their brain is wired in a certain way, they could only view things through a certain way. That's why mirror spells and return to sender spells won't work on them. Even if bad things happen to them, it'll never change their perception. It'll never change their view on things. Though I am going to be sharing my Death of a Narcissist spell, which does involve a mirror, but it's for a manipulative person with narcissistic-like qualities. But the mirror is about ending that connection, bringing the death of that relationship and that tether and tie to you, removing the illusion while severing that tie, and also to kind of bind up their fortune a little bit. Okie dokie, time for the spell work part. I know that was a lot. Thank you for still being here. So if you haven't already, feel free to grab a drink and a notebook because we're about to get into some spell work. I'm going to be ending this with my favorite spell to do in these types of scenarios, which might seem really weird to some of you guys depending on how far you are in your practice, but it's my favorite and I've always had the best results with it. Again, none of these are to get a narcissist back in your life. But okay, let's go into it from there. For all narcissists and manipulators and toxic people, they all seem, I couldn't get that word out, they all seem to share a core of reputation as nation, but always striving to protect their own reputation. I feel like we could mostly agree on that. That is more of a general consensus, even though each case is completely different. There seems to have that main common ground through all of this. But if we all know that, what can we do with that? Okay, so first, what we're going to do is we're going to find out or guess, depending on how well you know them, who they fear being exposed to the most. Their parents, their friends, their boss, co-workers, whoever. You have an idea? Perfect. We're going to craft a spell around that to expose them to those people. Remember, they don't care about their actions, just how they are perceived. In these cases, we don't target them to feel the hurt that they gave us. Because for most cases, as much as it sucks to hear, they most likely won't care because of how, again, they perceive themselves and think that they can do no wrong. However, if they're exposed to those that they hold in a high regard, oh, hell breaks loose, and then it is a downward spiral. Can you see now how a simple mirror spell or a return to sender spell may not cut it here? These bitches need an audience in all things. Plus, this helps prevent future victims. On top of it being your self-preservation, you're solidifying your own reputation. You are allowed to defend yourself. Reminder, the rule of three is a belief. It is not a universal law around all magic. Magic is just magic. Magic in itself isn't good or bad. It depends on the person behind the spells or the person trying to use it in any way, shape, or form. And plus, I hate the whole white men. Don't even get me started on that. I hate that. Anyway, I'm not talking about that today. If it seems that this person is definitely a manipulative and toxic person, but can potentially be self-aware and feel remorse, we could do a little shoe magic on them. I have to shave my legs, but yeah. And potentially a little dirt magic. Here's a little random witch tip. If they are someone who comes into your home, if you have the floor swept and you have not worn your shoes inside, but they have come in and worn their shoes outside, or even put it on your mat or anything else like that, you can just sweep up the dirt from them being in your house and use that. You don't have to go to someone's house to take their dirt. I'm just saying. Little witch tip in case you're like, oh, what if I have to take dirt from their property? One, you don't have to do that, but two, if there's someone that you come into contact with, you could just sweep up from where they were standing. Don't forget how simple witchcraft could be. But anyway, you could use that dirt if you have it, but it is not needed for this spell. This one is a basic walk a mile in my shoes spell. If they show that they can honestly be capable of remorse, not just gaslighting you into thinking that they are remorseful to get more things from you. All you do is you take their first name and you write it on the bottom of one of your shoes. Okay, there's no sigils on these shoes. That's why I was like, make sure I'm not wearing shoes with sigils today. Cool. But you write their first name on the bottom of one shoe, their last name on the other. These I made to look like a comic book. Did I do good? And then you could write things on their date of birth on it, their nicknames, common things that they say, where they live, anything that you know about them, and write it on the shoes. So when you're lacing up the shoes after you're putting them on, you're going to speak their name. You're going to think about everything that you want them to experience for what they have put you through. But this isn't a revenge type spell. But I'll get to that in a second. And what you're going to do is you're going to wear the crap out of those freaking shoes. Go running through a thorny patch of woods. Jump in some mud. Walk through broken glass and some hot asphalt if you want. step in dog poop, whatever you want. I'm not telling you how to live your life, just if you need some suggestions. Or you could go for a nice, long, relaxing run or a night out dancing with your friends or even in your room while you're cleaning. The whole point is you want to wear down their name at the bottom of your shoes while uplifting your own endorphins. It's symbolic of you standing over them, overcoming them, stepping back into your own power, and stepping back and taking the first steps in your own life now without them. Even though their name's on the bottom of their shoes, it's showing that you're leaving them behind. You're showing that they can't control you anymore. You control where you go, what you do, who you go to go see. And now they have to see it. That draining energy that you felt from them, you're taking it back at the same time wearing down their name and memory. Very simple little spell. Before we go on to some more, in case you're looking for something more like to help you with how you're feeling versus giving them any more energy, I got you too. I'm trying to encompass all ends here for everyone. But if you've already done your cord cuttings and maybe you try to even cut them from their negative habits with their own separate cord cutting, or maybe if they are like a parental influence in their life and you try to sever that bond and you still feel all this sorrow and pain and hurt and confusion, and you just feel lost and you're looking for something to help that feeling, I have something for you too, but it might catch you a little bit off guard. But talk to an unknown grave. You want to make sure this is a grave where you don't know the person. This will make sense in a second. What's so hard for a lot of people coming out of these types of relationships, whether they're romantic or even platonic or with family or with work, whoever, is that long time spent questioning what was real and what wasn't. And the absolutely heart-shattering realization is that the person that we thought we knew never even existed. We're mourning for a relationship that we never actually had, but they had let us believe we had. It can feel like a death because in a very odd sort of way, it kind of is. It feels like the death of that person or the death of that relationship, since we know it won't exist ever again. But here's why the unknown grave is important. While we're mourning for someone that we thought we knew, we have a stark reminder that right here in this grave was a real person. We know nothing about them, but yet technically we know more about this person than whoever we had any other relationship was, because this person was real. And this person deserves mourning, not that other person. It's more of a stark reminder with an unknown person than with a family member that we don't know, since we don't have any internal bias or connectedness. And chances are this person that's underneath us could be forgotten about as well. And this person doesn't know you. Talk to this grave, tell them everything, cry it out, and give all your mourning and sorrow as an offering to this grave. As again, they existed. What we thought existed never really did. It also helps to cement in that it is okay to feel whatever it is that you're feeling as you try to heal and move on. Because again, that didn't exist, but this person did, this spirit does. And who knows, you might make a new spiritual friend or ally. So I'm going to give you another type example that's semi in that same vein, where you just kind of want them to leave you alone, and that's all that you want. First, again, another reminder that the mundane needs to be done before the magical. The block button is a form of protection spell. So is saying no. No is a protection spell. I know some people may be in positions where, they cannot block the person. Maybe there's children involved, or maybe it's like family or something layered in that type of circumstances like that, I get. But those who can, please block them. Please leave. Do not punish yourself by staying. Reward yourself by leaving. After all mundane routes like that have been taken, and you've done maybe like an energetic cord cutting, again, by physically cutting the cord, not by 2 candles, lighting them on fire. Take back your own power. Physically cut the cord yourself instead of letting something else do the work for you. Then you could do this spell. This spell is a hand binding and banishing spell. I know that might sound really weird, but chances are, once you leave, they'll try and reach out to you. By calling, by texting, by scrolling or stalking your social media, your friends and family's coworkers' social medias. Opening doors, trying to find places that you may be in restaurants, in grocery stores. Shopping places, your place of work, with their hands. So let's banish and bind them. I know we can't rewire their brains, but like I said, there are still ways around it. If you don't have a picture of their hands, because it's going to be kind of hard just to randomly have a picture of someone's hands. You could take generic pictures from online, from magazines, or just draw them with their name and their information all over them. Some of these pictures can then be holding a cell phone. Some of them can be opening a door. Some of them could be typing on a keyboard. But take all those pictures, grab some thorns that are local to you, like thorns around like your immediate area where you live, and maybe where you work if that's a place that they try to frequent. Or maybe if they bought you roses and you have some leftover roses, use the thorns from those, you know what I mean? And then you're going to get some thread or yarn or, something to physically wrap and bind it with. Obviously, the most common choice is black, to put them in that darkness for the color of protection. I feel like that's common enough where I don't have to explain the color, and I've already explained it in other videos. Something to burn something in. And if you want, a candle. So since a hand binding and banishing together, like that type of spell might be new territory for you, since it's like, we're combining two spells together, let's go through that spell like step by step. After you have all these pictures of all these hands and everything about that person written like, over them, we're going to start by binding. You always want to bind before you banish. I think that makes sense to most of you, but still, focus on these pictures because this is the last time you're going to give this person any type of that type of energy from you, so make it count. When you're at the peak of your feelings, and like whatever kind of feelings that you may be feeling, I can't tell you what you would be feeling, but at the peak of them, you're going to take your thorns and you're going to, stack up the pictures nice and tight so you could kind of go through them all, but you're going to stab those thorns through each picture or through them all. And we're going to do a little incantation to go with it. Reminder, personally, I like my incantations and my spells to rhyme. I try to memorize as many of them as I can, and I like to chant them over and over again. So I prefer rhyming for my spells just because I like that rhythmic, and it's kind of easier for me to commit it to memory. But spells don't need to rhyme in order to work. You could just say you can no longer reach me in any capacity, and that could be it. But stab the thorns through all the pictures, and then you're going to wrap them, and you're going to wrap them away from you. Because again, we want to put in that away from us aspect of it. It looks like I'm reeling in a fish very awkwardly right here. And here's my incantation. It's a little bit long, so I'm going to pop it up on screen in case you want to screenshot it. But it's thorns of truth, wrap tight and strong. Keep my spirit where it belongs. Your words now pass. They do not stay. I bind your grasp. I walk away. With leaf and thorn, I make my stand. No more control, no more command. Wrap till just about the end of the string and tie it off with like an aggressive knot. You're not going to want to blow into it though, like that traditional form of like knot magic, just because you don't want any essence of yourself like tied into that spell. You know what I mean? You don't want any more of a connection to them. Even though the thorns may be from your property, thorns are for protection. They are a barrier. They are a hedge plant. But afterwards, once you tie like your aggressive knot, you could do multiple if you want. You could just do one. But afterwards, you're going to cut off the remaining string. Even if it's just a little bit, you just want to like symbolically cut off something that's the string wise without unraveling it. And the last incantation of the binding part is, this tie is cut. It ends with me. I take back power. I am free. So now that we've done the binding, let's move on to the banishing part 2. So now that their hands are binded, we're going to banish them. Take the wrap bundle in your hands and feel the feelings for them falling away. Get out your cauldron or your burn bowl or something to burn it in where the ashes are in one spot. You don't want to do it like in your own fire pit, because afterwards we want to scatter the ashes away from our property. And you don't want the ashes to stay like essence of it in your own fire pit. You could go build a fire somewhere else that you know you're not going to go again and just burn it there and like leave the ashes there. But anyway, You could light it on fire using the candle if you want, or if you didn't want to use the candle, you could just light it up on fire. And you're going to watch the flames eat away at everything. And then you're going to watch the smoke rise up and away from you. Even if the smoke's trying to come towards you and it's trying to cling on, nope. We're severing. We're about to banish, okay? And I'm going to give you my incantation for that. This one is a bit longer. Again, they don't have to rhyme. You could say whatever feels appropriate to you here. You could yell at it, telling them that they're no longer welcome. Like in your mind, in your body, in your home, in your spaces, around the people that you know. You could swear at it. You could forgive them. You could cry. Whatever feels right to you. You don't have to use my incantation, but I'm going to put it up right now. Reminder, it is a bit long, but it is. By silent will and shadow's grace, let reaching hands now know their place. No tap, no swipe, no call, no text. No knocking hands with rude pretext. From glassy screen to oaken door, let fingers seek my soul no more. No buzz, no ping, no scroll, no poke. Their grasp dissolve like this rising smoke. I weave a veil of sovereign air. No hand may breach, no eye may stare. My space is mine, unseen, untrod, protected by my will and my gods. So let it be by thread and flame, the meddling hands forget my name. Again, afterwards, scatter the ashes somewhere completely far away from you. Somewhere that you won't go again. Even a public dumpster could help, a trash can on the side of a road that you're never going to see again, or a random laundromat. Laundromats always get overlooked, but that is so great for cleansing and washing away things. After all that, make sure that you laugh. Laughter is the best form of banishing. Laugh while you eat a nice sweet or salty treat afterwards to ground yourself, but watch something funny or spend time with some good people afterwards. And before I get to my favorite spell, which is like the biggest one and the last one, we're going to do one more. And this is the one that I call the death of Narcissist, named after the myth of Narcissus, which we talked about briefly, like in my mirror video. I don't know what side. I think this side. I don't know. It's somewhere. But this isn't to bring death to that person. I know some of you might breathe a sigh of relief after hearing that, while others might have a sigh of frustration. This spell I call the death of Narcissist because you're ending the illusion that this person has put on you. It really helps you see like the truth in the matter by removing their illusions and looking into your own eyes and trying to find yourself again. Looking at you and not them. It's really simple and it's primarily folklore based because it's wrapped around the tale of Narcissus, who drowned by looking at his own reflection, overcome by his own admiration for himself, and then afterwards he was turned into a form of daffodil, which is a narcissist, but we're going to use daffodils for it because essentially the same thing. And we're going to be using mirrors in this one too. Side note, are these too many spells? We still have like my favorite one to do after this, and I'm just kind of like thinking about this now. I don't want it to be like overwhelming with spells, but I also want you guys to have like options because each of you guys are going to have a different type of practice. And I want to help you inspire your own practice and give you the tools to do this on your own. Oh geez, with these too many spells, oh my gosh, we're not even done yet. Please just let me know below if this was too many spells. I'm so sorry. Anyway, but what you're going to need for this spell is a small mirror. You could even do like a little compact one, a little handheld one, just like a little tiny one from the dollar store. A black candle for banishment and protection. A white candle for purity and personal strength. 4 daffodils, who normally stand for like love and fertility and luck, but they're also going to represent the narcissist. I use rosemary for cleansing for this, but that's what I use. If you use something else for cleansing, feel free to use that, but that's what I use. So I list off like rosemary for mine because it helps clear the mind, which, we're going to be unfunneling that. A piece of paper and a black permanent marker because we're going to have to write on the petals of the daffodil. So something that could write on the petals of the daffodil. Again, a fire safe dish, or if you have like a little cauldron or something. I have my big cauldron in the corner, which is what I normally use for this spell. I'm sure you guys have seen it in my other videos. I have like 8 cauldrons all around. And you want, again, some black string, yarn, cloth strips, something like that. Also, I don't think, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier in the other part of like the banishing and binding, but Saturdays are the best days to do like those types of workings in my personal experience, because Saturday is Saturn's day for protection and justice, etc. And I do normally do these on the waning moon. So that's when the moon is getting smaller. So if you work with like lunar energy, like the representation of the moon being diminished, even though it's not, it's the shadow, but still, like if I haven't mentioned that before, I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Do the spell whenever you feel need to do it. But if you are someone who likes to work with either planetary days or lunar phases, Saturdays on a waning moon. Also helps to point out in the hour of Saturn, and you can find your planetary hours by looking online. Okay, so for the first part, you're going to cleanse yourself and your space with rosemary or whatever you're choosing to cleanse yourself with. And you're going to place the black candle on your left and then the white candle on your right. And then you're going to lay down the mirror in between. Sorry if I'm looking all over. I don't know where my lens is. Then you're going to lay down daffodils in each corner of the mirror. That's why we have 4. If you're using a circle, just try to be like kind of like where the cardinal points would be, or like where the elements would be, if you were to think about it that way. You don't have to work with elements, but just for like a reference. You're going to write down the narcissist's name or their initials, their birthday, whatever is more of a connection to them, on both the paper and on the daffodil petals. And then below their name, if you could fit it on the daffodil petals, perfect. If not, it's still going to be written on the paper. But you're going to write, "Your illusions no longer bind me. I see truth. I reclaim me." Then you're going to light both candles. And then while the mirror is laying down, you're going to like touch it. You're going to hold it like how Narcissus would look at his own reflection. And then you're going to take the time to look into your own eyes. But you're not under the same type of spell as Narcissus, as like the daffodils. So take time to do this. See the hurt and the pain and the confusion, whatever it is that you may be feeling, in your own eyes. Like really look at yourself. It's going to be really rough and it's going to be really hard. But trust me, it's going to make you feel a lot better, even from a psychological standpoint, to really see everything. Then afterwards, you're going to have that slow realization that you're not going to feel this anymore. You might have to make yourself feel like that at first, where you're kind of like, you know what, I'm not going to feel like this anymore, even if you don't fully believe it. But then the more you repeat it to yourself, you will believe it. We don't want to fake it till we make it, but we want to give ourselves a little kick in the butt to make sure that we start actually believing it. And then afterwards, we're going to say this incantation, like out loud while you're looking down into the mirror. And again, I'm going to pop it up on screen if you just want to screenshot it. By mirror's edge and candle's flame, I sever ties that wound and maim. Your mask of charm I now unsee. Your power lost, you hold not me. With truth as shield and fire as key, I break your hold. I set me free. Then you're going to place the paper in whatever it is that you're burning it, and then you're going to burn it with the flame from the black candle. While it burns, you're going to wrap up the daffodil in the black string, again, away from you, like we did before. And throughout it, you're just going to tie 3 knots. I held up 4 fingers. You're going to tie up 3 knots. That's inappropriate. 3 knots. Oh my gosh. And each time that you tie these knots, this is what you're going to say. I'm going to pop it up on screen again. Bound is your reach, no more in me. I am whole. I am free. I am sovereign. And then afterwards, you let the candles burn down safely, or if need be, snuff them out. I prefer snuffing mine out versus blowing them out, but that is my belief because I don't want to blow away any of the energy or magic or intention that I put into that candle. So I snuff mine out. And then again, same thing with the ashes from the binding one. You want to do it away from your home or in running water if you can't do that. For the daffodils that are now bound, you can keep them as like, a reminder of your power if you need something visual, even though it has their name underneath it. You can keep that if you need to have like a reminder of your power. Or what I like to do is I like to bury them underneath a pothos plant, otherwise known as devil's ivy, because they're great and perfect for binding. And also, like other viney and creepy plants, like the plants that like creep around things, they're symbolic of boundaries clinging to them, to grow and fortifying all those edges. Building another barrier on top of those edges as another form of protection. They could also grow like very thick together and very clustered. And these type of plants are great for concealment charms. So not only would they help with the binding aspect and of the protection of it and the boundaries of it, but they also help conceal you from each other. I know it may sound like I'm over explaining it, but I want to make sure you're understanding the whys behind what you're doing and remembering to question everything. I don't want to just give you stuff and you be like, all right, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Because then I'm just giving you the answers and just giving you spells without teaching you how to do anything. I want to be able to help you make your own magic safely and without misinformation and buzzwords and without what my personal opinion on your craft and how it should look like. I'll mention my experience when it comes to certain things, but I'll repeat either multiple times that it's my opinion or I'll pop it on screen if I forget to mention it. I really feel like, in my opinion, that education should be accessible to all. It's most likely because of like how I got into witchcraft and how I started on my witchcraft journey very young. I know I don't really go into like my origin story or whatever, or like how witchcraft like saved me in a sense, because mostly it has nothing to do with any of your practices. But it also makes me wonder if I should maybe do a video on it, since like I give out information and you guys should know me in that way. I hope that makes sense. I just don't want to upload a random video where it's like, how did Crystal the Cottage Witch get into witchcraft? Her origin story. And it just be like, this isn't going to help anybody. I don't know. I'm rambling. Sorry, it makes me anxious. Anyway, moving on. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. We're going to get to the very last spell, which is my favorite one to do. I think a lot of people, when they think of witchcraft, they think it's all jar spells and candles and crystals and tarot cards and burning sigils and pieces of paper, which are all fucking badass. I just know that those are like the more popular type of spells. So I think that's the majority of what people think that spells do and should look like. But this spell isn't like that at all. This spell is a puppet show. I can already hear you guys now. Like, I waited through this whole entire video just to hear that. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure another big chunk of you, it just kind of clicks in your head and you're like, oh my gosh, that makes perfect sense. But again, for those of you who are just like, I waited all this long to just be like told to act like and put on a puppet show, let me explain it. Please hear me out as I break down why. Do you remember in the beginning of this video, we talked about like how these types of people are very keen on their reputation and character, but always want to destroy others? They work through source and supply. They view people as a source for things, not as actual people, before moving on to a new target. Sorry, I'm getting amped up. The accent might come through. The lovely Rhode Island, New England accent, which is different than the Boston. Or maybe they'll start trying to plant like a seed in others' minds about you. When they can see that like you're no longer bending to like their will, or that you're maybe like questioning things and no longer wanting to do all these things for them, no matter what, they want to be seen as a victim, a martyr, more special than they are. Either way, they act like this to their audience or whoever they think is listening. Basically try and collect them. Maybe they would try and embarrass you in a group setting or make you the butt of a joke, like, in front of other people, or maybe try and put you on the spot to try and make it look like you're something that you're not, or to do something that you didn't even want to do. Maybe they try and blackmail you with something personal and try and hold it over your head. Or maybe they just straight up lie. That way they could show their audience and be like, see, I told you all along they were a bad person. The main thing here is an audience of sorts. You see what I mean? This is having them exposed or exposing themselves to all these people that they talked about freely. And while there are a lot of people that other people do prey on due to their low self-esteem, in other words, they can have bad people come into their lives and repeatedly take advantage of them over and over and over again because they're just kind of seen as easy targets. And that could... House just knocked. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, I know, House. Thank you for calling me out. Thank you. But when these people talk about it, there's definitely a vibe. It's more of like a brag compared to someone just being hurt and confused and not understanding what's going on. There's definitely a vibe. Anyway, it is really hot. I'm probably going to change before I talk about my puppet show thing. You don't have to wait. It'll be ready in a second, though. I ended up eating a whole pizza, then falling asleep, so it's now the next day. So for a puppet show, you're going to need a lot of puppets. Now, this is what I meant before by this is more of an elaborate type spell. What you do isn't complicated. It's just the preparation for it. Because you're going to need to make quite a few puppets because the main thing that we want to target is the audience. But the main thing is how they are perceived. That is what matters to them, is how they are perceived. The supply from that they're getting from their source. Now, your puppets don't have to be intricately made out of you can make them out of like felt if you wanted to. You can make them out of clay if you wanted to for all the audience members. I like to be super simple with mine and make mine, like those paper dolls. You could do it with paper dolls, but the type of folded paper dolls that look like this. You could do something as simple as that. You can make them out of popsicle sticks. The only popsicle sticks I could find were the ones I was making in the fairy doors, so it's not like the best example. But like you could just even do popsicle sticks with like faces on them to represent people. The main thing is that you have a decent amount of puppets for the audience. You could even use like Bobby dolls or like regular figurines if you wanted to. Just kind of work with them to have your purpose in mind when you're doing the spell. Now, for setting the scene, it's going to vary because it's going to depend on your situation with like the manipulative person. I can't talk now. Oh my gosh. So if it's a coworker and if you want them exposed to like your other coworkers, if they've been like taking advantage of you for so long, X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 then obviously you want to set the stage for like a work type environment. If it's a friend who waits until you're in front of the big friend group to do these type of things and there's one like common denominator place that you kind of go, set that to be the scene. You know what I mean? So that part is going to vary depending on your situation. You could also make a puppet representing yourself. You don't have to, but sometimes it is therapeutic. And again, this whole thing is going to sound so weird, but I feel like for a big chunk of you guys, it makes sense. Now for the puppet show, you're going to set up the audience and you're going to have the narcissist come out and say the things that they normally say. All the stuff that you know are lies, everything that you know would get them exposed, or anything that kind of shows their true colors. So you start off, if you make a puppet of yourself, the narcissist could be saying it like that puppet, or manipulative toxic person can be saying it to your puppet. And you're going to have the narcissist say that type of stuff that they would normally say to you. And then you're going to have like one member of the audience kind of like call them out for it and kind of notice what they're doing. And then more things on how like the narcissist would say, how they would react to certain things. And you're going to have more and more people calling them out and basically exposing each thing that the narcissist would say and ripping it apart basically and essentially. You could also use like, those masquerade masks that are on stands. You could use that mask too for the puppet, or have the puppet have that type of mask. That way you could take it off and you could write everything about the narcissist underneath. That way their mask is revealed too. That's also like I was a theater kid. I wasn't an actor. I was a techie, but still, I love that theater aspect to get a little dramatic with it. But you could also do it with a group of friends, like people that you trust who know that like, that they love you, that they support you, and you could have them all sit together. And eventually what's going to happen is you want the narcissist to be booed off stage. 1 second, Nolan's coming in my house. Nolan's here now, but this is a perfect segue about moral support. Now, for circumstances like this, we're not going to go into any details, but it's great if you have someone who supports you while you're putting on this puppet show, which he has no idea what I'm talking about right now for like spell-wise. I'm doing the narcissist spell video. But what you would do is you would have your like moral support boo the person off stage and be but cheering you on. Something like that. Yeah, something like that. That could work, but you want them to be really into it and have fun with it. Right, Kitty? But what you would do is, eventually as each lie is being exposed, if you make the narcissist doll out of paper, you could poke little holes in it. You know what I mean? Like fading away at their facade and whatnot. You could also write all over the narcissist doll or carve into it, depending on what you're going to use for the puppet to represent the narcissist doll, everything that you wish others to see. I highly recommend this because of the last step, which you don't have to do this last step if you don't want to. But After you have a very cathartic puppet show saying everything that you've always wanted to say to the narcissist, maybe if you never were able to, narcissist slash manipulative slash toxic person. And if you have anyone with you for moral support that's cheering you on during all of this, or yelling at the narcissist doll on your behalf. I'm gonna have to edit that out. Oh my gosh. Ooh, but thank you. You could tell he's done this with me before. But there are different ways that you can type of end the spell, because each thing is going to vary on what you have on hand, what you feel comfortable with working with, what your craft skill level is. So, say if you make the narcissist out of a piece of toilet paper, afterwards you could just flush them down the toilet and be done with it because you're done with it. Or something that's safe to put in your cat's litter box, you could do that too. You could also put it in a container of water, freeze it, afterwards break open the ice, take out whatever it is, and then wait for it to dry and then burn it. Or again, like we mentioned before, you could bury in the pothos. Or if you have a dead or dying plant, you could take the dirt from that plant and use it in the next step. So what I like to do, like I said, I like to be a little bit extra. I keep coffin boxes. I stock up in Halloween time. I get all the little coffin boxes. You don't have to do that. You could just get any type of box, a jewelry box, a shoe box that something from Amazon came in, whatever fits the type of poppet that you're working with. And what you can do if you don't have everything that you want to be exposed on the narcissist doll, you can write it all over the box. But what you're gonna need for this one is they care about how they are seen, right? So you're going to need a lot of googly eyes. So before you put the narcissist in the box, you could either, like I said, write everything all over it, or, paint it black, then write over it with white, but then you're gonna glue googly eyes all over the inside of the box. Cover it with as many googly eyes as you can. If you don't have googly eyes or you can't afford it, draw eyes all over. You want the whole entire thing surrounded by eyes. That way they are always seen in their true colors. They're always being seen for who they actually are. That way they're not enticing other people. This is why they're not going to get any extra victims, anything else like that. They have to always be seen. You could also do something simple too, like if it was a clay doll or something like that, or a piece of paper, you could stick them in the window so they eventually get faded out into time. Or if you have a light that's always on, like a lamp light or a plant light, you could always put them on there. Again, if they're made out of paper, that way they're constantly in the spotlight and then they eventually fade over time. You could do that too. They fade away into nothingness to end it, but I like the box method. So then afterwards, you're going to take another piece of I use black for it, again, for that put in the dark kind of banishing binding thing, but then you're going to wrap it around and around and around, and you're going to bind the doll. Now I have an incantation that I'm going to give to you right now. Lies, gossip, and deceit have spilled from your lips. Each time you do so, your guard slips, tearing holes so people see the real you and the horrors you put others through. The complaining, gossip, and negativity lowers your protections while strengthening mine effectively. Through your toxic actions, you show the world who you are and realize you pushed away people too far. No one can save you. The damage has been done. Now you will know what it's like to be shunned. You can't get to me. I've already won. You can't get through my protections. My spell has been spun. Only you can lift your curse, since it is self-inflicted. Until then, your energy and presence are constricted. This will be a good moment to also pop in the polarity and the duality of herbs and correspondence and ingredients. Snake skin is a great thing to use for this. Normally, snake skin stands for transformation and rebirth. It's shedding. It's becoming new. If you were to stick a candle in the hole of the snake shed, that sounds weird. But if you were to do that, that symbolizes rebirth, renewal, and everything, because it's being born from the snake skin. But if you take the snake skin and twist it and wrap it around the candle or around the poppet, that's symbolism of constraint, of constricting, since snakes constrict their prey most of the times and try to entice them that way. So you could also do that too if you don't want to wrap them up with thread or anything else like that. If you want to be more symbolic, if you have some snake skin or a dead snake, you could do that too. But then afterwards, don't forget, when we bind, we wrap away from ourselves. Think of like an overhand type of thing, and then when you're bringing something to yourselves, it would be like an underhand because you're bringing it to you. Don't forget. Afterwards, when I'm tying off everything, if you have enough of this is what I really like to use. So this is Devil's Shoestring. It's normally known for like tripping up the devil and for binding and for people to trip over their words or to kind of trap and grab things for binding. So I like to tie that on the outside. You could also use it with pothro vines. Speaking of pothros, I know I mentioned having dirt from dead plants. You could put graveyard dirt in the box with it. You could put some anvil dust in there. You could put a little bit of sulfur. If it's safe for you to breathe in, make sure you do it in a well ventilated area. But you could put in dirt from a dead plant in there too if you can't get graveyard dirt or anything else like that. So if you need something like that in a pinch, and if you have a plant that's dead or that died, you could take the dirt from that too. But I tie it up on the bottom of the box with the devil's shoestring, or like on the front of the box, depending on how the box is shaped and what I use. That way, no matter what, even if it tries to get out, it's still getting tripped up. I know it's a really weird and awkward and random spell, but it's my favorite for a reason. Yeah, I know this end was all over the place, and this was a very long video that had a lot in it. Hopefully I didn't overwhelm you with the amount of spells and everything. I don't know if this was overwhelming or if it was too many spells. If you're still here and if you made it this long, please just leave like a moon emoji, since we talked about the waning moon earlier. It doesn't matter what moon phase it is, just so I know if this was helpful and if it made you guys want to watch at least to the end to get the information, or if it was too much. Because I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I just want to be able to give you guys the tools to be able to do these things on your own. I hope you're having a wonderful day, night, energy, space, and whatever time it is that it may be when you are watching this. And I really, truly hope that good things happen to you. Bye!